These golf psychology sessions with a PGA Tour golf psychologist who's worked with 6 major champions will improve your golf and lower your handicap. Right, so process is obviously a big part of golf psychology. How would you sort of like explain that in a really good way that is easy to understand?
Yeah, I'd go even deeper on that, Craig, in terms of process. I'd go into how you're actually going to get better at the game of golf. And I think there needs to be a clear distinction between a training mindset and a playing mindset.
Yeah.
And it's almost like with a lot of players over the years, I've literally got them to wear, one cap that's you do when you train, and you put a different cap on when you go to playing.
Right.
So
I'm delighted to say that the Scratch at 50 Psychology channel has partnered with Caddie. Caddie is an app that gives you access to one of the world's leading golf psychology coaches who's worked with 6 major champions and hundreds of PGA Tour, DP World Tour players from all over the world. Watch this video to the end where you can get a special offer to get access to Caddie today.
So, essentially what's going to happen when you're training, of course, you're working on your technique, you're working on various positions in your swing, which needs to be done. But then what do we need to do when we get into a playing mindset? I would say literally, you put a different cap on and you become that player. So for me, the key thing is then, does the swing create the shot, or does the shot create the swing?
Okay.
So now we're getting into...
So is the cap thing like a reinforcement?
Yeah.
Almost like just an object of, right, this is the different me kind of thing.
It's like the
competition me, or
it's like the different me. I've had the training cap on, I've done all my work, I've done my checks and balances with alignment and things like that. Right now I put the playing cap on. It's a different way of thinking.
Okay.
Because that's the biggest problem in the game, Craig, is that most golfers say there's a huge difference between how they are on the range and how they are on the golf course.
Absolutely.
Well, it requires a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
You're out there. On here, you're working on swing. Out there, it's about shots.
Yeah.
They don't ask you at the end of a round how many swings you've made.
No, that's right.
They ask you how many shots you've hit.
Yeah.
So we need to get into shots.
Yeah, and that can also be from playing on the course with their buddies to then having a card in the hand. 2 completely different things for a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
one of the key things I would say to switch over into that playing mindset, that if you're on the range like we are here, a great way for me of finishing a session before you go and play is, let's just play 5, 8, 10 shots as though you're literally on the golf course that you're about to play.
Okay.
You'd get your yardage chart out. If I was caddying for you, we'd say, right, Craig, we're on the 4th now. We've got a par 3, 160 yards or whatever. Tell me what you're going to do on that hole.
Yeah.
So we get right into playing.
Yeah. And put the cap on.
Let's put the cap on.
Okay.
So we actually we get into roll.
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting way of doing it, because it is a mindset change, isn't it?
Mm.
It's like one of the sayings that I really loved was golf's a game where you have to practice like it's the most important thing in the world, but then play like you really don't care.
Yeah.
They're 2 completely different things.
Different things, completely. And, once you get out there on the golf course, it's about interacting with an environment that's changing all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas we're in here in a fixed environment trying to work on our swing. So let's say we were going to go for the yellow flag there, the second yellow flag. What club have you got?
7.
Got 7 iron. Perfect. Let's go for that. My question for you now would be, if you're out on the golf course and we're playing to a par 3, what does a good shot look like?
So, a good shot would be setting off on my target.
Yeah.
And I don't tend to think too much about shape and stuff.
Right. Okay.
My sort of process is I stand behind the ball. I pick out, my first thing is I pick out an intermediate target that's in line with my target.
Right.
To make sure that I'm actually set up in the right place.
Yeah.
And then when I step into the ball, I've obviously got my routine, which is basically 2 looks at the hole. As I come back after my second look, that's my trigger to then swing. Mm-hmm. I then kind of, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, because a lot of psychologists is like, you should be just thinking about that yellow flag. On shots, I tend to try and go inside myself and I try and just think about what a great swing feels like.
Yeah.
And the tempo of it and all that, and then just try and let it happen is kind of the mindset I try and get into.
You brought up a great point there. As you say, a lot of the psychologists will say, just think about the target. Well, that's great if it works.
Yeah, yeah.
For most people, unfortunately, it doesn't.
Right.
But what does work, and you've alluded to it there, is once you've got clear on the shot and your target, is when you're over the ball here, I call it the 1 point, where you actually just narrow all the things down that you could think to just one key focus.
Yeah.
Now you've just said it there. Your key focus is rhythm, is the feeling of rhythm in the swing.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to occupy the mind with.
Yes.
That's the goal. The big shift from training to playing is when I'm training, I'm observing positions in the swing. I'm trying to move the body differently. When I'm out here, I basically want the mind to go quiet.
Yeah.
To now elicit those skills.
Yes.
So if I'm over here and I've trained thinking about takeaway and downswing and all the rest of it, good luck trying to take that out on the golf course.
Yeah.
But what you're doing there is you're narrowing it down. Let's get into that 1 point, which is rhythm.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I mean, the main reason for that in my mind is that I don't want to worry about what's out there.
Oh.
You know.
Well, you've programmed that in.
Yeah.
By seeing the target, you've got your intermediate target.
Yes.
You've taken care of your process, but now you've centered yourself down to one key focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So going to my process.
Okay.
It's a little bit left, but it's on the green.
Pretty good. We've hit the target. So the big message for me, for folks listening, is when you change caps and you go into playing mode, is explore what needs to be your 1 point.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you've alluded to the fact that some players, generally better players, will focus on target or ball flight. I would say the best thing for most players looking at as a 1 point is something like rhythm.
Yeah.
Balance. Another thing that some players do reasonably successfully is that, you know, if you place your attention on the club head, you could stand and make a swing, and if your attention's on the club head all the way through the swing, it's just again settled in one place.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not so much what you focus on that's the key, it's the fact that you're focusing just on one thing.
Yes.
As opposed to your mind jumping around.
Yeah.
Because the golf swing, it takes a second, but that's an eternity for the mind.
Yes.
Your mind, as you know, a good player, your mind can jump all over the place,
Yeah.
especially under pressure.
Yeah.
So that would be the thing. Find out what is your 1 point.
Yeah.
Explore that. Change caps. Go from training to playing.
Yeah. And I take it can be anything. It could be a T-shirt, game like Tiger's red T-shirt. Could be a symbolism of this, couldn't it?
Yeah.
A change of gloves, something that triggers your mind to say, right, we're in this different. I'm the different person.
I'm a different person now. You know, you change from, you wear your white glove in training, you put, I don't know, your red glove or your blue glove on, you go and play.
Yeah.
It's just that physical change. I've even had it with a lot of tour players whereby if they're in a certain location on the range working on the swing, when we want to go into a playing mindset, we'll actually go to a different location.
Yeah.
So you're marking the fact that there's a mental change. You're marking it with some physical things like a change of cap or a change of glove.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit quirky,
yeah.
but it really does make a difference.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. A great bit of advice. Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Golf Psychology Sessions. If you want to get continued advice from Carl, you can subscribe to the Mind Caddie app. Go into the description of this video for a special offer as a viewer or subscriber of the Scratch at 50 Psychology channel.